All right. So I don't know if anybody's been informed or not, but I just kind of gave you the brief overview. Dispatch inbox is very, very difficult to manage. Um, there's a lot of things that come into there, and pretty much it's one or two or three people kind of just touching things, marking them red, marking them unread, not handling them or handling them, and nobody knows if they're being handled or not, whatever. There's a lot of bad mojo there when it comes to customer service and how the customer feels after, this kind of experience. Email is a great tool, but it's absolutely overwhelming us. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to move this into Service Cloud. Service Cloud is a feature of Salesforce that is meant to do exactly that, right? So we will create cases and we will respond to and work on cases just like we work on emails. Okay. So basically, what's going to happen is the dispatch inbox is going to be off limits for you guys. The emails are going to forward into Salesforce, and then the cases will be assigned dynamically. That means that if it's Brooke's account, then a team that Brooke is involved with will get assigned to that case. Michelle, same thing. Savannah, same thing. Anybody who, if they own the account, that case is going to go into their queue. Once it's in a queue, you're going to accept that call, that case, and it's going to be reassigned to you. So then instead of being team one or team two or team three in a queue, it's going to belong to Michelle or Brooke or Gabby or whoever's working on it, right? This is going to be everything from IVR voicemail entry to estimate processing to updates to just plain old chitter chatter from the customer, right? They're just back and forth, right? So we'll have a case for all of those emails, and any related emails will be stacked onto the same case, so it won't be multiple cases for the same thing. Um, so once you've accepted it, then you'll process whatever you do with it, create a work order, or just respond to the customer, and then as soon as you've satisfied that, you can just close it, and then it'll be done. What does that do for us? It gives us trackability, right? We can know that every single one of our cases or emails has been responded to, or all of our work orders have been updated, all of our cases, all of our IVRs have been entered, everything, right? So we can track all of this stuff with very good detail now, whereas we couldn't in the inbox, right? If it was marked red, we assumed it was done, or we would have to then go to the record or find the record again and see if the updates were made, right? Now we'll be able to see it right on our screen here. Or more importantly, if somebody's waiting for an answer, we'll be able to see that right away in our view here. So what are we looking at right now? Can everybody see my screen? I see some head nods. Okay. So basically what we're looking at here is a case management app. Everybody's familiar with the app launcher up here. If you click on the app launcher and type case management, it will be somewhere in this list, and then you can just click on it and that'll bring you here to the case management home. You can reach cases from dispatch app, but this is more geared towards working the cases, right? And you're not going to have this dashboard on your dispatch home. So if you come here, dispatch home, case management home has a dashboard. The very top dashboard is my case management dashboard. When you're looking at this, whether it's Liz looking at it or Madison or Jeff or whomever, the only thing you're going to see here are cases that belong to you, that you are the owner of. So these are cases that have either been assigned to you, you have created, or you have accepted from the team, okay? So these are all the ones that you're currently working on. And we have cases by day, right, by your customers, so you can see which cases you own for each day. You can see what cases need to be updated. These are not closed or canceled, they're just open. So you know you have to do something with these. And these are unread emails, right? So cases with unread emails, so you know you have to look at those and see what they are. You haven't done them yet, or you've gotten a response, right? And Madison, that's a new feature that we talked about yesterday. And I'm working on it. It's not perfect yet, but it'll get better. And then my open case aging. So that basically this is going to say by type, right? So we can see that we have updates, we have repair requests, we have blank, so it hasn't been assigned yet. No action required, that sort of thing. Internal and IVR voicemail, and the average age of those is 1.5. All right. Below that, we're going to see an overall dashboard. So this is going to be more for management. You feel free to look at this if you want to. I don't know how helpful it's going to be to you. It's got the same features, but it's for everything, right? You can filter it by team. So each one of you is going to be responsible for a team. For example, Brooke, you have what, MattWorks and no, I don't know. You have your own accounts, right? Any account that
Savannah.
you're the owner of, I'm sorry, oh, Savannah. So any account that you're the owner of is going to be assigned to your team. So team 1 is Madison. Team 2, I don't know who team 2 is. And team 3 is Savannah. Then there's an other, and other is anybody, any queue that didn't, any queue, any account that doesn't belong to one of you guys, right? And then that's going to go into Madison's queue, and she's going to assign them out directly. And then there's one for TCO, which will probably go away. Okay, but each team. So if we picked on Madison's team, team 1, we'll see that it filters all of these reports just down to that team. Now, anything that has been assigned to Madison directly or to any one of her teammates, right, is not going to show up in this. It's only the team 1. If you want to see everybody, then you have to click all, and then you'll see every case that's in these reports. Again, not going to be hugely useful, but it's something that you can use for reference if you need to. On the right, you see My Cases. My Cases is exactly what it sounds like. Anything that is assigned to you that you're responsible to be working on, you're gonna have that here, right? You can see when I hover over it that it's a link, and if you click on it, it goes directly into the case. So what happens in the case, right? So whenever a case is created, right, it's created as a status of open, and it's assigned to new case. There's a rule that processes in the background that says who sent this, right? And it looks at the contact. Actually, it looks at the web email, and then it says, do we have a contact that matches that email? And if we do, what account do they belong to? Once I find that, then it says who's the owner of that account and what team do they belong to, and then it assigns it to a team. Sounds like a lot, right? But you guys don't have to worry about it. That's done in the background by itself, right? So let's say it is for a Brooks team, for so it's a KBS contact, but maybe they don't exist in the system, or maybe they're using a different email address or something, right? We can then go over to, and we have actions over here in the feed. This is called the feed. Each one of these cases, you're going to recognize it as any other record in Salesforce. It looks exactly the same with just a few exceptions. One of them is going to be this, what's called a path up here. And then the second is going to be that it's got a feed, which our other records don't have. Okay, so feed is great. It's almost like your chatter tab on work orders, except there's a lot more function to it. So we got a lot more things that we can do here. And of course, it's got a related tab as well, so you can see all the things here. So again, if we don't, we're going to talk about the first action. The first action that we can do is we can add or update a contact. So as of right now, you can see that the contact is pre-populated because we already found a contact, right? Once it's found a contact, you don't have to do anything else with this. But what you can do is you can click next, and you can update this. So if they gave you a cell phone number, a lot of times there will be a signature in the email or whatever. You can update the contact straight from here. If the contact did not exist, then you can then you can clear that, or it'll be clear, and you can search for a contact and select it from the list, right? Once you hit next, whatever you change will update in here and the account will go. All right. Once you've decided what you're going to do with this case, you're going to need to update it some kind of way. This path is got all the statuses on it. So we've got open, new, accepted, triage, waiting reply. I'm sorry, I'm going to back up 1 second. When you first open a case to work on it, the first thing you're going to do is click the accept button. And that's going to put it to an accepted status, and it's going to update the status to accept. That means that you have it. It's not open, and nobody has to bother with it. So that means that you're working on it. If somebody sees it, it's no longer assigned to the queue, so they know that they don't have to touch it. So if you're working with other people in your queue, it's going to keep the queue clean, and they know just what's in the queue they need to touch. All right. Then once you've decided what to happen with it, you need to update the status. You can do that by saying, let's say it's a repair request, and you have to reach out to the customer to see if they checked if clogged hoses or the squeegee's ripped or whatever, right? So you're going to send an email. So I have it shut off here, but in here there's an email, and it looks identical to your email on the work order, okay? And then you can send an email to the customer. You can come down to the initial email that started it, and you can reply to it. When you click to that attached email, you have all the actions of your normal email right within the email. You can just hit reply all, reply, you can forward it to somebody. If you do that and they respond to it, it'll come back and it'll be attached to the case. You can see this one has 4 different emails, and you can see who they're from, right? Apparently Savannah sent this back to me. Cool. When you do that, you need to manually update the status. So when you do that, if you're in triage, or if you're awaiting reply, or if you're working on an estimate, right? If it's an estimate, whatever it is, you don't have to follow this order. You can change it to whatever it needs to be. Okay, it's not a linear path. You can change it to dispatch approval, and then they could kick it back to saying, well, triage it with my field staff, and then you can switch it back to triage. You get it? But as long as you update it, right, so that you know where that is. So when you're looking at it on your list, you know exactly where it is. And it only takes a second. So right now we want to put it back to triage. We'll click triage, and we'll click mark status as complete, or we'll change it to mark as current status, right? If it's on this status, we can mark it as complete, and that means we're done with our triage, but then we got to do something else, right? So then we got to update it to something else. So you can do that or not. All right. All right. If you talk to somebody on the phone, we can log a call. This is exactly the same as it is on any other thing, right? So if we get an email that leads us to calling somebody about it, or somebody calls and asks about this case, log the call, right? Just say, I spoke to Joan. You can type in Joan. Or if she's not the one you spoke to, if you spoke to her boss or whatever, you can do that as well. You can put whoever you want in there, as long as they're a contact in the system. And then you just type your, whatever you want, right? It's automatically going to relate it to the case. You hit save. And we've got something going on. I don't know if it's a Salesforce thing, so it's not going to allow me to do it. But you'll be able to see everything that you do in the feed. Okay, so we've done all that. Everything is good to go. It needs to be a work order. We have a dispatch. So what this is going to do is it's going to we're going to go ahead and push this into a work order. It's going to convert this whole work order. And basically, you're just going to do it the same way that you normally do. This is the new process. It's going to be live probably within a couple of weeks across the board. But for now, it's going to be available in case. So you're going to set the repair type. Then you're going to insert the component, whatever it is, and then you're going to put the problem description. The problem description is automatically going to copy from the original email that we received from the customer. You're going to need to look at that and edit it, right? If it becomes an issue and you just rather type it in, you let me know that, and we'll get this out of here. But otherwise, you can just work off of this and just delete the stuff that you don't need. So I'm just going to get rid of most of this stuff. This obviously is not a repair request. It's not going to let me create it anyway. All right. Once you're done, it's going to automatically populate the requester by whoever called it, whoever sent the email. You can set the scrubber not to exceed, assuming it's a scrubber. If it's a burnisher or whatever, you're going to have to set that. If there's a PO number, you can enter that. Everything is exactly the same as it is that you're used to filling out. It just is going to look different, right? The equipment type you leave at whatever it lands on, and then you put in your symptom, right? That's automatic. When you click next, it's going to say whether or not the machine is on warranty, right? And it's going to walk you through just kind of this setup process. If it's under warranty, then you need to react to it as if it's under warranty, right? If it's not, then you're just going to create a work order. Once you're done, you can either go to the work order, you can go directly to assign the work order, or you can stay on the case, okay? I'm going to click stay on the case. And it didn't work. So something's going on, like I said. Anyway, that will create a work order. It will close the case, right? So you don't have to do anything to close the case, and it'll automatically put in a resolution for the case. Done, right? You're done with that case. You never have to touch it again. Okay, let's say it's not a new work order. Let's say it's a case regarding another work order, okay? Then we're going to go to link a work order. And link a work order, all we have to do is look up a work order, any work order, and click save. That will create a link record that will show up on the referenced work orders related list, okay? If we relate it to cases, same thing, we can do it there, right? If we created a work order from this case, that work order is going to show up under the work orders related list. So we have referenced work orders that is separate, and then we have work orders that we created off of this case, okay? Okay, so anything that we need dispatch approval needed, it's here, but I don't really want to use it for a long term, right? If you're expecting a response back within an hour or two, fine, use it. But if it goes into, I don't even know what the acceptable limit is, but if it goes into 24 hours or so, go ahead and create the work order and leave the work order at awaiting approval, because we have a built-in hold feature there and we can track that time. If we let it sit here, then it's taken out of that metric and we lose kind of our focus on it. So for now, if we put it away, a dispatch approval needed, just make sure it's updated relatively quickly. Okay. All right. So in the details of the case, we can capture the location and the installed equipment. These are not things that I can strip out of the email, but when we get them, you can look them up just by clicking the pencil or hitting edit, and then looking up. I don't have any locations in the sandbox, so I can't show you that, but it'll search just like any other thing. Be careful that the location you're picking belongs to the same account that you're submitting like the work order under, okay? The installed equipment, same thing. We can look up the installed equipment from here. If it doesn't exist, you can create one on the fly. Be careful with that, okay? Just make sure that you're filling out the things the way you're supposed to be. If it becomes an issue, I'll lock it down, but I don't think it'll become an issue, right? I think you guys are cool enough, you know what's supposed to happen with that, okay? once you've done that, if you put in the location and the installed equipment while you're triaging, while you're corresponding with the customer or whatever, when you go back to create that work order, when you go to the dispatch, that information is already going to be in the work order details. So you just have to click next, 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 and then put in a couple of things and go. You're not going to have to enter it again. All right. Do we have any questions so far? Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah. So when you were saying about, us emailing through the Salesforce and it looks the exact same way it does now, does this pretty much like eliminate our Gmail and just everything gets to go in here and we just do it all in one platform?
That's a fantastic question. And the answer is yes. And the answer is also no. All right. It gets you out of dispatch inbox, which is the monster, right? So anything that comes to your personal email or any personal communications that you have are not into this at all, right? Nothing happens with this at all. Anything that comes in here that you're working on, you're going to send the email through the case, right? And that would have been anything that came into the dispatch inbox. And then anything that comes into your personal inbox, you're going to continue to work that on your own. Now, if they're copying you and dispatch, be careful. There's going to be a case made for the email that went to dispatch. So if you respond to just your personal email, you're going to need to make sure that you update the case as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And
okay.
then
and then
I just have one more question. You were talking about how we're going to put the NTEs in there. So for some of them, a lot of the locations, especially with KBS, those automatically populate. Are those not going to automatically populate anymore?
Only for the auto scrubbers. Only for the auto scrubbers. And then if it's something other than an auto scrubber, like a burnisher or an extractor or whatever, right? Because what's happening is sometimes we're getting a $1,200 not to exceed on a corded vacuum, which I could buy a corded vacuum at Walmart for 150 bucks. You know what I mean? We shouldn't be doing that. So it's become an issue, and some orders have slipped through where they spend $500 or $600 on small equipment that doesn't even cost that much money. You know what I mean? Or even a burnisher. The burnisher itself is only worth, I don't know, 1,500 bucks or something like that. And if we're spending $2,000 on a repairing one, then it's it's a big deal. So so basically what's going to happen is you guys are going to have some kind of guidance, right, from David, I'm sure, that says what to put in per customer, right? So obviously Walmart already has a matrix, right? So you're going to put in whatever the Walmart matrix is. But any of your customers, right? So who else do we have? MatWorks is going to be pretty easy because they're all scrubbers. You're just going to have to put in a couple of burnishers or strip machines or whatever. But any of the other customers that have like a big variety of equipment will have to be put in manually until we come up with a way to do it systematically. So it's not permanent, but it is, and it's a good way to kind of think about what you're sending out, right? So we're not just sending out repairs. We're sending out, we know we're going to work on a vacuum cleaner. So it better not cost that much money, right? And then it helps us better manage our ASPs. Is that too much information? Okay. Anything else?
I had a quick question.
No?
So,
Go for it.
Can you add multiple contacts to a case?
Not at this time, but is that something you want to do?
It might be needed.
You can respond to everyone that's on that email.
Okay.
So if it was working, I would show you a reply, right? Basically, you can reply all, right? And it would send the email out to everybody. Everybody that was on the email originally, it'll go out to those
Okay.
same people. But you can also send it just to the person who sent the email. So if you're worried about just who's being copied on the emails, that's handled by whoever they copied on the original. Plus, you can when you're in creating the email, and I can show you at least what the form looks like. I can't show you what the finished thing looks like. But if we're in an email and we click reply, you see we got reply and we got reply all, right? It's the same thing. It's off. It's shut off so that I don't have test stuff going out to the customers. But you can see on here, it's to me and tickets and Savannah and dispatch, right? So everybody that we reply to, when we hit reply all, everybody on that email is going to get
So
it.
if
Everybody
if
who's
you
on the
reply
original.
all and dispatch is CC'd, does it create a duplicate case?
Good question. That's a great question. And it should not, but it should be a good it should be a habit for you guys to kind of take that off of there. If you think about it. If you don't think about it, it won't really matter. But what'll happen is the email is already going to attach to the case. When you hit reply all, it's automatically going to put your email on this case, right? When you if you copy dispatch, it's going to get to dispatch and it's going to send a copy back to Salesforce. If it's the exact same subject line and the exact same two people and whatever, it should thread on the case, meaning it should find the existing case and then just attach itself to it, right? If it doesn't find that, then it potentially could create a duplicate case. I've seen it create duplicates for people that send to repairs at KBS and to dispatch, but I think we've handled that. In the last couple of days, I haven't seen any. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And if you do see duplicate cases come up, then just let me know, and there's ways that we can prevent them from happening.
And then just one more, I'm sorry. When the case gets closed, like when you go through the whole thing, you mark status as complete, I guess, or closed. But does that email the customer and let them know that the case has been handled and like work order has been created or anything like that?
So once we create the work order, it doesn't say anything about the case. It doesn't send any closed case notifications to the customer or anything. No. It does transfer over to the call progression emails from work order, right? So whatever we send them on the work order, they get the same thing. Right? So they'll get I think the first one they get is the ETA. So when the call is accepted and the ASP sets the ETA, that's the first email that they'll get on it. Whether or not we send them an email when they submit the case is still up in the air. I think we should shut it off, but I need to talk to other powers that be before we kind of determine that. As of right now, there is a, hey, we got your case and we'll handle it as soon as possible kind of email.
Okay.
But beyond that, there's nothing else that goes out automatically. No. So, okay. Anything else? Okay, Liz, you don't have to raise your hand.
Sorry.
You just take
Yeah,
yourself
I
off
have
of
one
mute.
more. So Vanna
okay.
was talking about with the emails and everything and possibly creating duplicate work orders or anything like that.
No, not work orders.
Sometimes the customers, like, because I think you said that we create the cases off the emails from the customers. Sometimes multiple people will put in emails, will send emails to create a work order in case or whatever for the same equipment, the same location, everything. So how does that work if we get 3 emails from 3 different people from the same company wanting repairs for the same thing?
So part of working the case is going to be part of the same thing that you would do if you got the email, right? So if you get an email saying 243 emergency, get it now, I got a buffer, right? Okay, great. You don't just jump and create a work order, right? You look up 243. Well, what 243 are you talking about? Hit that, then see if there's a current work order. If there's a current work order, you're going to look at it. Is it the same machine, right? Once you do that, if you determine that it's the same thing, then all you have to do is link the work order that you just found, and then send an email saying, hey, buddy, we got it from whoever called it in earlier, and say, we already got this from so-and-so, and we're working on an update for you, right? And then you can close the case out. You're good to go, right? at that point, it's not a repair request anymore. It's just an update, right? So to answer your question, I think you're saying, is it going to show me if there's already a work order open? I can. It doesn't exist today, but if that's something that looks like it's going to be useful, I'll absolutely do it. Okay. But that's going to mean that you're going to have to update the installed equipment and the location in order for me to find it. You dig? So as long as you do that, we can do it, and we can put it right up here on top. There's already a work order open, whatever, and you can kind of go from there. So so that's that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I get it for all the emails that come in, it automatically feeds in. But what about the ones that are called in? Can you go in and manual put that information in? Because like a lot of mines are
Yes, great
sometimes
question.
called.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, and David and I talked about this. We batted it back and forth. I would like to see case management happen with everything, right? David will kind of make the decision on that, the final decision on that. But basically, what you do is let's say it's Michael put in this. You're on the phone with him now. So you look up the contact, right? So you say, who's calling? Okay, you pull up Michael, and you say on the related list. The very first thing you're going to see are cases. If Michael has any cases, then you'll see them here. If he doesn't have any cases, then you can click New and just fill out the case right here. What kind? Oh, it's a repair request, right? You're just going to put it straight to whatever. You're going to automatically own it because you're creating it. You don't have to fill out any of the web stuff because that's only for whatever, right? You can look up the location and then the equipment. You can look it up. I'm just clicking those real quick because I don't have anything else. I only have one of each in the system. So, but you can find a location. You can find the installed equipment. If the equipment doesn't exist, you can create a new one, whatever. It's automatically going to default to phone. So if you're on the phone, you don't have to change the origin. If it's an emergency, you're going to set the tier 1. If it's not, you're going to kind of default it to 2 or 3. And that's going to be based on the customer. And then you're just going to say, you're going to give it a subject and then a description. So if the subject is needs repair at 243 or whatever, and then you're going to say fix the burnisher. Remember, whatever you put in description, that's going to be your problem description when you create the work order. Okay. Then you're going to hit save. And it's not going to work because storage limit exceeded. But that's basically what exactly you're going to do, and then it'll bring you right back to that case where you can do whatever you're going to do with it, create the work order or whatever, and you're going to walk right through the same flow, right, that I showed you with the other one. So you'll be able to all that information that we just saw will be here. You're going to go over here to dispatch and just go ahead and start walking through the repair request. Does that answer your question? Okay. I'd like to see that become the new normal, and that way you guys are used to working on the same thing all the time. You're not doing one process for this customer and a different process for another one. Okay. You can do the same thing with an email, or if somebody sends you an email directly, right? That's a repair request or whatever. You can forward it to dispatch, and it'll create a case the same way as whatever. You just will need to update the contact when you get in and you work a case. Okay. Once we're done, we need to close the case, right? So there's 2 ways to do it. One, we can click on closed and select the closed status, whatever. I don't want you to do it that way because there are things that we want to have filled out when we're done. Okay. So when we click on close case, okay, there's just these couple of fields, 3 fields. You need to set a type. So if it was put in as a repair request and it actually turned into an update, I would like you to update it, change that to what it actually was. That'll help us down the line to say, what is our case volume? How many of these are we doing every day? How many are we getting? How many are we giving Savannah versus how many are we giving Liz? Whatever, right? And I'm keep picking on you guys because you're right on the left and the ones I can see right away. So don't feel like I'm picking on you. And then resolution, you're going to type, created a, no, if you create a work order, it's not. So you just, it was an update, so we responded to the customer. You don't have to put the full response and everything in there because the email's already attached, right? All the details are already there. So all you got to do is just put in a quick reason, say, what did you do to resolve this thing? I responded to the customer, okay? It's automatically going to go to status closed, and you're going to hit save, done, right? So the status is updated to closed. We updated the type to update, and we put a resolution to responded, okay? Now, now you can just move on. It's not going to, now this case is no longer going to show up on your dashboard when you refresh. Okay, so that took about 40 minutes, and I answered a few questions and spent some time on that, which kind of scares me because we spent over an hour on the phone yesterday. But really, that's the whole process. So is there anything anything scary that you guys can see about this? Anything that you want to immediately kind of give me kind of feedback on? Any more questions? I know, like I said, Cheryl, you weren't here for it, but Terry and Jeff, you're here kind of because you'll probably get cases assigned to you at some point. And I just want you to be familiar with it. I'll spend more time with you guys to kind of determine what we need to add to this process to fulfill your needs. But for right now, we're starting with dispatch to get rid of the dispatch inbox nightmare. Okay. So I don't think I missed anything. On the work order, oh, I did miss something. Okay, so on the work order, there is now a field, or will be a field, called case. All right. If this work order was created from a case, that's the case, right? It's going to be there. If the work order was created some other way or from a different case, right, that's going to be in the related tab. And the distinction is we have cases that are promoted to work orders, and that's what that case is. That's what that case field represents. And then we have cases that refer to work orders, right? So they're work orders that already exist, or a single case that references several work orders, right? You guys are picking up 10 locations for me. Do you have updates on those? Then you can link all of those work orders on the case, and then you never have to say, okay, well, how do I find all the work orders associated with this pickup route? You can say, oh, here we go, and just click into each work order and get the statuses of them. Beyond that, when a work order is updated, the status, the work order status, is going to be filled in on any of the referred cases. So it'll show up in the, sorry, this is trying to not move. There we go. Sorry about that, we're a little bit slow. Okay, so when the order status is updated, you'll see that in the feed of the case that started the work order. So here you can see we're pending assignment, we're waiting confirmation, we're pending assignment again, whatever. I'm just moving this back and forth to test the process, but it'll make sense when you do it, right? So it'll say work order this was updated to tech on site. So when you get a call about that, hey, what's the update on this? Well, tech's on site, right? You'll know that right from looking for there. If you don't see it, then you can link directly to it on the related tab. You can go and look at the work order, and then process your updates the way you normally would. And that is that. The last thing that I want to show you is cases. Your cases tab. Your cases tab is going to be your bread and butter, right? So right now, I'm looking at an all cases. You're going to want to look at two lists specifically. Number one, you're going to want to look at my cases. My cases is going to be every case that's assigned to you, but there are a couple of different views. There's my cases with new emails, and then there's my open cases. Okay, so if you're looking to, all right, what do I have open? You can come in here and look at these cases and figure out what you want to do, what you need to do to update them, right? The goal is to close cases. So you're going to want to go through and get all of these closed out. You think of these cases as emails, right? You want to respond to the email as soon as possible. So you want to respond to these as soon as possible. Okay. Number one, because it'll keep your queue clean, and number two, they're going to keep coming. So there were something like 700 cases entered yesterday. So probably why I locked up the system. All right, once we're in here, we can do a couple of things. Number one, if we're in my open cases, you're just going to click in and whatever. We can look at this a couple of different ways. Number one, we can look at it in what's called table view. Table view just gives you a list of everything that's in there, and you can just click on the case number to visit that case. I would suggest that when you first look at your cases tab, that you favorite my open cases, and that'll give you a starting point. So then every time you hit cases, it's going to start at my open cases. Or if you prefer, do all my cases with new emails, right? Hopefully that stays empty. But what you can do here is you can look at it in list, and if you've looked at all of these and you want to update a bunch of them at once, you can go ahead and highlight all the ones that you want to update and say, oh, these are all pending dispatch approval, right? And then you can highlight, change the status, update 5 selected items, and then hit apply. Once you hit apply, you hit save, and you just updated 5 cases. All right. You did not respond to the customer, but you can update in bulk like that. Okay. So if it's something that you've already taken care of and you want to just update the case, you can do it that way. All right. The other way we can look at it is we can change our view. So we have our view. If anybody has never played with this, you can. It's display as. So we're displaying as a table right now, and that's, again, like, that's good for bulk processing. It's good for just list processing. You can do whatever. You can print a list off of this, right? Another view is split view. Split view is pretty much the same thing. You're going to look at the same list view, but it's going to be in a condensed side view. And then as you click on it, it's going to open the case in the big area here. So this is exactly the same as opening each case, right? If you want to just run through it, you can just click on the case. It'll open there. You can make your updates. You can send emails to the customer. You can do whatever you want through here, and then close the case. When you close the case, it's going to be gone from this list, and then you can just keep going on. I think it's a really good way to kind of run through if you have a bunch of cases that you have to look at. All right. If you want to get back to your list view, you can just click that book. Anytime you see this, it's like that's your split view. We can go back to table, or we can go to Kanban. I was trying to find a good way to explain Kanban, but it's really difficult, and maybe not so useful. It's probably useful if you're wanting to just kind of click and drag into different statuses or reassign from one person to another, right? So if we look at Kanban view, Kanban gives you 2 options. One, you can summarize. So if there's a field that can be summarized on your list view, you can summarize the data. And then group by. So group by, we're not going to use case owner because it's my cases. It's all going to be me. You can do it by priority or by status or by type. So let's just kind of do it by type. So now we can look at a Kanban view, which is cards, right? So it puts cards on what type. So if you're looking at this and this says it's none, but it's waiting for, it's waiting for dispatch approval, then we want to just drag it over to repair request. Then you've just changed the type. We want to try and keep none clear. There shouldn't be very many in none. So that's a good way to kind of do that. But if you're done doing that, and this is not really useful after that, right? So you may want to, you can either change your Kanban settings to group by something else, let's say status, or you can change your view entirely, and that's really probably the better way to do it. Okay. Again, if we're sorting by status, you can change the status just by clicking and dragging it to a different status. Okay. So that's that. I'm going to go back to table. Whatever view you, yes.
I see on there that you have
Somebody
tiers.
say, oh, Michelle.
What are you stating with these tiers? What are the priorities?
All right. So
what are they
tiers
telling
is
us?
that's a great question. So priority is exactly what it sounds like. Priority is how important is this, right? If it's just chit chat, it's probably a tier 3. If it's a repair request, it's probably a tier 1 or a tier 2. And if it's like, I need this done right now, make sure I get an answer within 15 minutes, whatever, set it to tier 1. And then you can use that. There's no automatic functionality that goes along with it. But you can then sort by that and say, I need all my tier 1 stuff and I need to get it cleared out. And then you can filter by that, right? Everybody's going to default to tier 3, I think, to start with. And then you can make them more important on a case-by-case basis. Does that answer your question? Yeah, okay. Okay, the next thing you're going to look at, right? You're going to look at my open cases. Those are going to be the ones that are already assigned to you. Then you're going to look at your team. So you're going to learn which team you're responsible for, and you're going to work in that queue. Okay, unless David or Madison tells you otherwise, you're going to stay in your team and stay in my cases, right? So team 1 has a whole bunch of stuff, and that's because I'm not updating these. But what you want to do is you want to keep these queues clear. So basically, this is your work queue. This is just like your inbox. So when you're in here, grab the first one if it's sorted by oldest first or whatever, by tier or however you're doing it. Grab the one that you want to work on, or grab one that needs to be worked on, and then you're going to do one of two things, right? If it's an estimate and there's somebody specifically responsible for entering estimates, you're going to just change the owner. So you're going to click over here on this little person or on this button up here that says change owner, and you're going to say, this should go to whomever. Now you're going to do the same thing if it belongs to Jeff or Cheryl, right? If it's a TCO question, it should go to Cheryl. If it's an ASP question, it should go to Terry or Jeff, right? But we're going to do this, and we're going to say, okay, Madison, this one's yours, right? You can send a notification email. You don't have to. Depending on their settings, they might get one anyway. And then just click on Change Owner. Once you've done that, you're done with it. Madison's automatically accepted it because it's assigned to her. And then you can go back to your cases and go back to cleaning out the Team 1 queue. So you see why I say it's good to use the split view when you're doing that. So if we're going to go to Team 1, as soon as you go to Team 1, maybe change it to a split view. Now it's harder to sort that way. You can sort by status, but you can you can open up the case right here, and without ever leaving the list, you can just reassign it, right? Or if you're going to work on it, you need to click accept. So when I click accept, it accepts it and it puts it to me, and it removes it from this list. So now I can update everything. I can use Chatter to chat internally. I can log a phone call. I can make a phone call or whatever. I can update a contact if I have to. I can dispatch it. Whatever. All the functions that I have when I'm looking at the case are right here. I can also drill down. This is the email details. So this is not the actual email, but it is the detail of the body. So all those cases that you have, or all those emails that you have this long conversation view. You're going to see all of it right here. Okay. You're also going to see any other emails that are attached to it. So somebody asked me a question about if 3 different people send an email on the same thing, right? If they're responding to an email that was used to create the case, then it's going to stack. And if not, it'll probably create a duplicate. So now here's the next thing. So what if we do find a duplicate? So I'm just going to use my cases and I'm going to show you from a table view. And I don't know if everybody gets this access or not, but you can merge up to 3 cases at a time, okay? So if these were the same thing, and I could probably go through and find one that might have been duplicated, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to say, okay, these 2, and then there's a button up here that says merge cases. So we're just going to highlight those 2, and then we're going to click merge cases. And then it's going to give me a side-by-side comparison of those 2 cases. And that's when you determine, okay, these are duplicates or they're not duplicates. You're going to see it right up front. The only thing it's going to show you by default are the fields that are different from each other. So if it's the same, if it's all the same stuff, right, or whatever, you'll be able to read those emails side by side and see if they're the same thing. If they are, then you choose which one you want to use as the master and then hit next. It says you're about to merge it. You can't undo it because it's going to delete one of those cases, and then you're going to click merge. All right, what it does is it takes all the emails from both cases and it puts them on the same case, and it also updates any other information that you tell it to. You can choose fields to copy from one thing to another. All right, but then you absolutely can merge cases like that. Once you've done that, then you can treat them just as one thing. All right. What it won't do is it won't. Somebody asked me about multiple contacts. I think that was Savannah, right? Multiple contacts. It won't copy the CCs from both emails. So if you want to merge a case in that scenario, you want to make sure you have a list of all the people that were contacted so that you can add them to the next email that you send out. Okay. Once your team queue is empty, that's it. You're done. So the team queue should be emptied every day, just like the inbox should be emptied every day, right? The team queue should be emptied every day. That means that everybody has accepted the emails and they've at least started working on them. And then you should try as a goal to get my open cases emptied every day as well. All right, because that'll mean, you know, if you have some that are awaiting dispatch approval, if you put some for dispatch approval yesterday, and you're in this morning and they're not approved yet, you know, maybe reach out for a follow-up and then create the work order and put them on hold on a work order. That'll close the case and get them shut down. Really what we want to do is we want to get all of our cases closed out within a day. And that's really going to be a goal, because it's not meant to be a vehicle to kind of hold things open. It's just meant to be a vehicle to manage emails and see what kind of calls we're getting. Okay. All right.
So with IVRs, What would be the process for a case with an IVR? Would it just go straight to completed as soon as you listen to it and enter it, or what?
That's a good question. I haven't really done anything with those. But when you basically, yeah, all you would want to do is kind of refer it to the. How do you listen to voicemails now? You got to download them. Do you have to
They just
download
kind
them?
of play through the browser.
I don't know how that's going to work for now. That's a great question. I will look into it before Monday. You may have to download them in order to play them, but I'll see what I can do about that. So basically what's going to happen is when these come in, and it doesn't work here because the work orders are not in the sandbox. This is what you're looking at, by the way, is a test environment. I'm going to encourage all of you to just kind of come in and start poking around before Monday so that you can kind of get at least a feeling of what it looks like. And I'll give you instructions on how to do that. But anyway, what this will do is when we get this from Ring Central, it's got a work order number in the subject line. It's going to pull that work order number out. It's going to look for the owner of that work order and then give me the account owner, the account, right? So it'll give me an account here, and then it'll assign it to whoever team that is. So KBS will go to team 1, and then Walmart to team 3, and then whatever else goes into team 2, right? If it doesn't, it'll go directly into an IVR queue. So you might want to look at those as well, right? So there's a queue called IVR something or other. Oh, sorry, it's being a little jumpy. Yeah, so there's a queue called IVR updates, and if they weren't assigned to a customer or a queue, then they'll be here, right? So somebody will need to keep these clear as well. All right, but it will have, like I said, it'll look up that work order. If it finds the work order, it'll put, probably not a contact, but it'll definitely put an account, and then it'll assign it to whoever owns that account. All right. Once you've actually listened to the voicemail, you can just link it to the work order, and then go do the update on the work order. That's up to you what process you want to use for that. If you want to link it, right? So you link it to that whatever work order that is, and then close it, right? And then go and update it on the work order. That's up to you. That's kind of a little bit backwards, but it's a little more linear. But if you wanted to open that work order in another tab, update the IVR, and then come back and update the case, that's a great way to do it as well. Okay. I don't know if that answered the question or not. Okay, so that is all I have for you guys. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? But I'm going to give you all a link. I'm going to put it in the chat, and I'm going to show you how to log in. I'm going to show you how to log in right now. But you're gonna we're going to do this as soon as I learn how to use Salesforce. Okay. So test.salesforce.com. Let me see if I can find my chat here. All right, test.salesforce.com. Your login, your login will be your normal Salesforce login. So in my case, it's jwolf@gopherparts.com. And then you're going to put the name of the sandbox on the end of that. So it's going to be your email address .gears, Gears. And I'm going to copy and paste that right here, .gears. Okay. Then your password is going to be exactly whatever it is in production. If you've changed it in the last month or so, it's going to be whatever you changed it from. So if you need to, you can do forgot password, and it'll update that for you. Okay. When you log in, mine's already set to case management, but go to the waffle in the top left. And if you don't see it immediately in this list, you can either click view all, or you can just type case management and then select it from the list. It's going to be under apps, not items. Okay, and that's going to get you here. When you log in, right, every time you log in, get used to refreshing your dashboard. I don't know if most of you use your dashboard, your dispatch dashboard or not, but this one is going to be absolutely pertinent to you. This is not for anybody else. This is my cases, right? So if you're not looking at this, that your only person you're hurting is going to be yourself, right? Because these are your cases. These are not your team cases. They're not anybody else's teammates. These are the ones that are assigned to you. Okay, so it's going to be really helpful to come in here, refresh the dashboard, and then just kind of start poking around and seeing what's up here. Again, this second one down here, you can look at your team, right? Whichever one your team is. David, how are we going to work that as far as the assignment goes? Did we tell them what teams they're on?
Yeah, everybody knows their. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Really, they're Savannah and Michelle are the only ones on their own team, and then you got Brooke,
Right.
Liz, Madison, Gabby.
Yeah. Okay. So just because you're not listed directly on this team doesn't mean you don't have access to it, right? So Brooke and Savannah, you'll be able to look at team one and TCO, right? You'll be able to look at all these different teams as you want. I should put IVR on there as well. But this is going to be how you look at specific teams. If you change it to team one, and the next time you come back, it'll probably still be on team one. All right, so if you're only interested in team one, then you're absolutely welcome to just leave it on team one and refresh it all the time. If you want to see everything, then you have to change it back to all. All right. If you don't like this My Cases, let me know. We'll change it. If you don't like anything, let me know and we'll change it. Okay. The good thing about having an in-house guy is that I can make changes happen. Okay. We don't have to wait for somebody. We can kind of do it as a team. So so what I would like to see happen, and you guys can do this on your own pace, is anytime between now and Monday, right? Get in here and start poking around. Go to cases and start seeing what things look like. You're not going to be able to send emails. You may be able to create objects and stuff when they figure out what's going on with it. But just poke around and see how it's going to look and be familiar where the information is going to be. You can go to dispatch and look up the emails and you'll find the email in dispatch. These are real emails that came through the dispatch inbox. Okay. So some of them did come through repairs at KBS, but those are still in the dispatch inbox for right now. Okay. But get in there and start looking around and seeing what it looks like. You can link to emails down below. You can look at those. You can feel how it's like to kind of get back and forth between things. If we want to go to a console view, we can do that eventually, where we can have multiple tabs open related to the same thing. It'll make it easier for us to open related records like work orders and stuff, or cases or tasks or whatever, right? Notes, we can have notes on here, whatever you want, right? And everything that is not right here is on the related tab. And if you're missing anything from here, just let me know. Say, hey, I'd really like to be able to see whatever, and we'll see about getting it on there for you. Okay? Are we in overload yet? Yeah? It's going to be Monday. All right. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to get in and just mess around. Even if you can't break anything in a sandbox. Okay. I did, but you can't. All right. So go in there, do whatever you want to do, create new cases, watch new cases come in. It's not creating new cases as of right now, but I expect that to be fixed this afternoon. And then, just kind of get familiar with it, because on Monday morning, you're going to be working on cases. Okay. I don't mean to scare. I'm not scaring anybody, am I? No. Nobody wants to come off mute and say it.
Can you just turn off all the
That's all
emails,
right.
Jesse? Can
Huh?
you just turn off all the emails?
Did we what? I can turn off all the emails. I'll block it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to block anybody, though. I'm just going to forward them to Bob.
No, please don't.
So what time will you be doing this between Sunday and Monday? Because I work Sundays normally, a little bit, and then you're going to be turning it on Monday, but I need to still go back to a certain time Monday or Sunday night when we are here Monday morning from the dispatch.
So we're going to have the whole thing ready to go live on Sunday evening.
Okay.
Excuse me, Friday evening.
Second.
Friday evening, because Gears doesn't work on weekends, which is fine. Once she gets it all set up in production, then I will turn it on either Monday morning or Sunday night. Now, here's the thing. Well, I don't know what the thing is. The thing is that, whenever I turn it on, you're either going to have to do the emails or you're going to have to do right? So if I turn it on Friday night, then you're going to have weekend emails to deal with out of the inbox, out of cases, right? Or if I turn it on Monday morning, you're going to have emails to clear out from the inbox that didn't go into the cases.
Right. As long
Does that
as I
make
just
sense?
know that timestamp, which I would assume will be like, I could look at all of the cases and see what the earliest one is and then say, okay, that's the cutoff. So then clean up everything before that.
Yes.
But just in case there is any glitches or anything that doesn't go well, can we just know what timestamp that would be so I can make sure that all that stuff gets swept up?
Absolutely. So, and it's exactly like you said. So if you see a timestamp, whatever time that case says, that's the time we got the email. That's the beauty of this, right? So we can always go back. That inbox is not going away. I'm not deleting anything out of the inbox. So you can always go back and refer to that. You can. I don't want you all in there, and I certainly don't want you all in there sending emails as dispatch, right? I want you to send emails as yourself, or if you want to send it from dispatch, you can in the email tool. You guys all know how to do that? Y'all know how to send emails as dispatch from inside Salesforce? Yes? Okay.
You just changed the name, right?
Yeah, there's a drop down on the from. So, I could open up production and show you if you wanted to, whatever.
Yeah,
Same thing.
All
Yeah, cool. So same thing as everything. What I would suggest is we start thinking about creating personal templates. Okay, personal templates are going to be huge. It'll have a formal heading, and then it'll have a formal signature, right? So that we can, anytime we send an email through the system, we can then pull up that template, right? Even if we're replying, we can pull up the template and say, okay, here's what I want to send everybody, or whatever. If you're responding to an update and you want to just send hey, we got your message and we're creating a work order, then you can send that, just through a template. You don't have to type it out every single time. Right? So we want to start thinking about those kind of templates that we can make for this. If you don't know how to make them, Madison is an expert. We sat and we talked about it for a long time. If she doesn't remember, then I'll absolutely spend some time with whoever needs it. Okay. And if you don't want it, then I won't waste my time, right? It'll be fine. You guys can do whatever you want. Okay. That is all I got for you. If everybody wouldn't mind, go ahead and as soon as we hang up here, or even now, go to test.salesforce.com, try to log in with the way I told you, and then make sure that you have access to it, right? Go ahead and save your password and the link, right? Make sure you save that link, because it's totally different from the one that we log into production on. When you're in there playing around, it's best practice, and I'm suggesting that you close your production Salesforce so that there are no oopsies, right? And that's it.